Ever since journalists were making hit piece after hit piece on PewDiePie, or as troglodytes call him, PewDiePie, there has been one adpocalypse after another adpocalypse. Now I know a lot of you are going to scream out, but journalistic integrity. Journalists care about the world and they tell the truth. Well, no, every lamestream media outlet is owned by a big company. Companies care about making money, and if they don't, a company that does care will surpass them. Even when media does tell the truth, it's usually a half-truth. And from what I can remember my motherboard teaching me, a lie by omission is still a lie. But of course, you don't have to take my word for it. Because in 2017, only a few months later, Ethan from H3H3 Productions found out that YouTube is much more likely to put ads on traditional media.
Casey Neistat made a video about the Las Vegas shooting. He said, literally a video about charity, where I state all AdSense is going to that charity. YouTube says not suitable for advertisers. We love what you're doing to help, but no matter the intent, our policy is to not run ads on videos about tragedies. It's their policy, and it doesn't matter what's your intent. YouTube, if it's your policy to not run ads on videos about tragedies, no matter the intent, then how do you explain this? Jimmy Kimmel on mass shooting in Las Vegas. GMC ad. Here's an ad for the new Blade Runner movie. And it's #1 on trending. Okay? Yesterday, iDubbbz made a video that got 10 million views in the first day. Didn't get a blip on trending. So they not only made the conscious decision to put ads on this video in contradiction of their own statement, they've also decided to trend it #1. This is called selective enforcement.
Wait a second, why would mainstream media want more money to go to traditional media? What do they have to do with one another? It's almost like conglomerates exist, and a lot of companies that own traditional media also own news outlets. Then a year later, there was the whole Logan Paul situation in the suicide forest. Now, was Logan Paul to blame for what he did? Yes, and he was punished for it, along with all of YouTube. There was that whole Jared Fogle stuff scandal in early 2019. Now, what group of people were to blame? Well, the answer is obvious. But who was to be punished? Well, it was all of YouTube. Everyone! Now, I have met people who told me with a straight face that it's understandable and that's how it should be. And those people are either really stupid or they're ignorant on just how much YouTubers got punished for the actions that they did not cause themselves.
Usually both.
And of course, there was a whole Voxpocalypse with Carlos Maza freaking out that Crowder made fun of him. And to be honest, Crowder had every right to make fun of him. His video was so stupid. Basically, he was saying even if you don't watch Fox News, you're subconsciously watching it because sometimes other media outlets reference them. I mean, it really should be expected that no matter how far the left, well, goes to the left, they always seem to go even further. And every time I think I've seen everything, they surprise me somehow. Crowder was punished, but Vox said that wasn't good enough. And they decided to punish a whole bunch of other YouTubers. Now, a few people noticed that YouTube was being a bit biased against conservative channels. In response to this, the people who were spreading this misinformation around were called conspiracy nuts. And then almost every social media platform decided to band together and ban Alex Jones. I mean, they're really not even hiding it at this point. Now, YouTube eventually admitted to throttling right-wing and centrist channels to avoid another Trump situation. Yeah, apparently he won because YouTubers kept on exposing all the lies the media was spreading about him. And I always thought it was a Russian hack. If you want more information about this, I highly recommend you check out Teal Deer's video. I'll link it down below. But why would Google, which owns YouTube, do something like this? Well, it's because Google is a righteous company that fights for social justice. And not because they're totally making sure a certain left-wing candidate wins the election so he can pass policies that will give their company more power. In all seriousness, this is just conspiracy I came up with. I really have no proof to back it up. But then again, pretty much all big companies give money to political candidates so they can push policies that will help them out. Sorry for making that last one political. I know I said I'm pretty much done with political content on this channel, but with that one it was pretty much unavoidable. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Jar, why are you bringing any of this stuff up? All of those adpocalypse were YouTube's fault. This time it's the FTC's fault. And it's more than just an adpocalypse. People are going to lose money that they make outside of YouTube. This time YouTube didn't even do anything. And others of you may say YouTube is partially to blame because they were bragging about how much kids use their service.
But then YouTube had to go and open its big mouth and screw it all up. Quote, it's the #1 place for kids' online content. And, quote again, YouTube is today's leader in reaching children ages 6 to 11.
And some people think that the FTC is completely innocent and it's all YouTube's fault. So whose fault is it? Is it YouTube, the FTC, or both? Well, let's put on our thinking caps and really get our noggins jogging. And let's observe our evidence in an objective way. The FTC, as far as I'm aware, has done absolutely nothing to me. And YouTube has been screwing over creators for a very long time. I mean, it's a real thinker, guys. I have no idea who's to blame. I just can't figure it out. Now, in all seriousness, I'm not saying the FTC is innocent, but I'm saying YouTube definitely isn't innocent. As much as Susan is trying to push that this isn't YouTube's fault and most people in Congress don't have a smartphone, the first thought that crossed my mind was, YouTube, what did you do? According to Coppa's very own website, you don't have to choose the for children or adults option. You can also choose a for everyone option. As much as people like to push the false narrative that I can get hit for having a cartoon avatar or talking about cartoons and anime, no, they can't do that, and there's no way they could win if they took me to court over this. And what are they supposed to do? Fine everyone who has a cartoon avatar talks about cartoons, Pokemon, anime, video games, or anything? No, of course not. All these YouTube channels who are saying things like, I review cartoons, but they're cartoons for adults, but the FTC can just ignore that and say, my content is for kids, and fine me. Those people are just freaking out over nothing. I just feel like I'm at a party, drinking and smoking a little devil's cabbage, and the other guy's freaking out saying, but Jar, what if the cops come? What are they supposed to do, arrest all of us? If Google doesn't want to lose YouTube and get sued for everything they have, they're gonna croak and allow us to choose a mixed audience option. And YouTube will probably use this as an excuse to hit political channels that don't agree with their narrative. In fact, as I was working on this video, YouTube tweeted out that you can choose a mixed audience option. There's also talk about YouTube getting rid of demonetization. Well, not completely. Videos are still going to get hit with the demonetization stamp, but instead of demonetizing a video almost completely, only allowing people to get money from YouTube Red, now certain ads will play on them, such as trailers for R-rated movies. Also on my end, a lot of my videos that were demonetized are suddenly getting monetized. I don't know if this is only happening to me, but I'm grateful for it. Making a living on YouTube actually seems possible now. So yeah, even if people are right about Coppa for the most part, at least you'll be able to make adult content and get money for it. This whole Coppa situation actually might be a good thing. This could bring in a new golden age on YouTube. Maybe Filthy Frank and Leafy is Here will make a comeback. Just get rid of those Spider-Man and Elsa videos. For the love of God, please. Bella Swan is often called a Mary Sue. But is she? Well, we're here to find that out today. I've already went over all the Twilight movies in my last video, so I would recommend checking that out, just to catch yourself up to speed. I've gone over Mary Sue's lots of times on this channel, and I thought I was done. But then I found out that no one has made a video about Bella Swan being a Mary Sue. Sure, lots of people people have called her one, but being the Mary Sue expert I am, I will be looking into her to see if she is one, and how Mary Sue-ish she actually is compared to, well, other Mary Sues. If you've seen my What is a Mary Sue video, then you should already know my different classifications of what a Mary Sue is, and the different types of Mary Sues that are out there. Firstly, about 90% of Mary Sues are the main character. Now that does not mean all main characters are Mary Sues, but most Mary Sues are the main character. Bella Swan is for sure the main character in Twilight, but that doesn't make her a Mary Sue. It just means she's more likely to be one than if she, well, wasn't the main character. So, is Bella Swan really powerful? Well, no, not until the last movie. Yes, she is immune to vampires' unique abilities with no reason given, but by that logic, any character ever with a superpower would also be a Mary Sue. Most vampires and wolves could one-shot her, and she needs to be protected all the time. Yes, when she's a vampire, she's stronger than Edward, but all newborns are stronger than most vampires for the first year, because the rules of the Twilight universe are stupid. When she becomes a vampire, she can now create shields, making others immune to vampires' unique abilities. Now, a block everything shield does seem like a bit of a Mary Sue power, but keep in mind, it only works on vampires' unique abilities, and most of those abilities aren't really useful for combat. When you compare Bella to people like Rey from Star Wars, Captain Marvel, and Mulan, she doesn't really seem all that powerful. Okay, maybe she can kick Mulan's ass, but you gotta compare Sues to their verse, not to other universes. But, is Bella a jerk Sue? This is a character who does bad things and everyone will defend them on it. Bella for sure has to be a jerk Sue, right?
Yes, but actually no.
Yes, she does stupid things all the time, but she's not really an asshole to people that much. Yes, she's a bit of a bitch to her dad and ignores her friends after Edward breaks up with her, but when you compare her to someone like Amber from Invincible, someone who broke up with Mark just because he kept a secret from her for her own safety, and then all of Mark's friends joined her side, or Tila from Masters of the Universe who blew up at He-Man's parents after their son just died because he died without telling her he was He-Man, then got pissed with He-Man in the afterlife for sacrificing himself to save the universe. Bella doesn't seem so bad now, does she? Is Bella a villain, Sue?
What are you, stupid?
No, because she's not the villain. So is Bella not a Mary Sue? She's not perfect or even comes close to it, that's for sure, but she does tick off the second biggest Mary Sue box. Everyone loves her to death and will do anything for her. All those who don't are evil. So here's why people call Bella Swan a Mary Sue. Edward loves her for seemingly nothing. And so does his whole family. Well, everyone but Rosalie, who ends up liking her later on. Jacob loves her for seemingly nothing at first, but later on it's revealed that he's really in love with her unborn baby. Yes, that happened. Go watch my Twilight review for more info. Both the vampires and the wolves who have been fighting for years put aside their differences just to protect her. All the vampires who don't like Bella are evil, and most of them end up dead. Like the Volturi, Victoria, Laurent, and James. God, that name is still so lame for a villain. I'm just picturing the odd ones out as an evil vampire every time they say his name. Like I said earlier, all of Bella's friends let her back in their group after she blew them off for months. Oh, and everyone in the small town she goes to knows her and wants to be her friend. This is why people call Bella Swan a Mary Sue. The whole universe revolves around her. And a lot of Twilight fans project themselves onto Bella because she's a blank slate. After 5 movies, I know nothing about her other than the fact that everyone likes her. Some people used to call Bella Swan the biggest Mary Sue of all time, and Well, that really didn't age well. I can think of 5 Mary Sues off the top of my head who outdo Bella in almost every way. Don't get me wrong, Twilight is one of the worst series I have ever seen, but I don't see Bella as that much of a Mary Sue. Maybe it's because of all the other Mary Sues that have come out in the last 10 years. So I know I haven't uploaded anything in some time, but I am working on a big video. One of my editors got sick and the other one had to deal with school stuff. So I thought I would make this video to give you guys something as I finished it up. Also, my Twilight video didn't do as close to as well as I thought it would. And because my Mary Sue videos almost always do good, I thought this would maybe give it a little bit of a boost. Now I know I said in my How to Fix a Mary Sue video that would be my last Mary Sue video, but it didn't do so hot, maybe because it's under 10 minutes long, or because it had a bad thumbnail or something. So once this video is public, I will be taking it down and just playing it here for you guys. Yes, I'm being cheap by reusing a video, but come on guys, I could really use the money right now.
Give me your fucking money!
Oh golly gee willikers, Jar, another Mary Sue video? Haven't you done like 50 of these already?
Another one.
Okay guys, I know I've done like 1, 2, 3, 4 Mary Sue videos already. 5 of you considered a video I did on Techno's channel, but I promise this is the last one because I have nothing more to say on the topic after this video. In my first video, I talked about the differences between Gary Stews and Mary Sues. In my second video, I talked about how there's too many Mary Sues nowadays. In the video I did on Techno's channel, I talked about the different types of Mary Sues. In my fourth video, I talked about how way too many Mary Sues are coming out of Disney nowadays.
Whoa, that's a genuinely shocking fact.
And in my last video on this topic, I went over what my definition of a Mary Sue even is. But in this video, I'm going to be talking about how you can make a Mary Sue character that people will actually like.
Wait, actually.
Now I'm going to create my own original OC Mary Sue right here, right now. They are a female. They are perfect in just about every way. All the characters love them. They are one of the most powerful characters in their verse, if not the most powerful. And they sometimes do terrible things that the other characters just seem to ignore. So far, this doesn't seem like such a good character, and it sounds like a lot of people won't like them. But I just have to do 2 things. Well, technically 3, but I can pick between 2 of them, and it will completely fix the character. Number 1, don't make them the main character. And number 2, make them either a villain or a mentor. I already went over this in my last video, but the villain Sue is one of the best Sues. People love a good villain. They don't care how powerful they are, it just gives the hero something to overcome. So if you want to make a Mary Sue character, make sure they're evil and diabolical. You can make them somewhat sympathetic if you want, but it doesn't matter how powerful or perfect you make them, because 99.9% of the time, the villain is supposed to be overcome and defeated by the hero. But even then, sometimes villain Sues can have their own issues to them, like Madara Uchiha. He was just too powerful and too perfect. He went toe-to-toe with the first Hokage, who has big tree muscles. Even characters with just a few of his cells become joning. Madara got his own super form merging with the World Tree, created the Infinite Tsukuyomi to mind control the entire planet, and he just out of nowhere gets defeated by Kaguya because the writer couldn't figure out a way for the heroes to defeat him. So yes, even a villain Sue can be written terribly. But the only Sue that's easier to write than the villain Sue is the mentor Sue. You're probably thinking to yourself, what the fuck does a mentor and a Mary Sue have in common? Believe it or not, it's a lot more than you might think. The main mentors I'll be focusing on are the ones from anime, because I'm trash. Look at characters like Master Roshi, and yes, I know in Z he was by far not even close to being one of the strongest characters in the verse, but in original Dragon Ball when Goku first met him, he was the strongest in the world. He could blow up a mountain, or the fucking moon, and no other character in original Dragon Ball even came close to doing something that cool. Master Roshi regularly sexually assaults women, along with a whole bunch of old mentor characters. In real life, if an old man sexually assaulted a young girl, he would probably get called out, go to jail, maybe get sued. A lot of bad things could happen. Just like the characters from Invincible ignored the terrible actions of Amber, every anime character ignores that their mentor is sexually assaulting teenage girls repeatedly. At least give Jiraiya credit, he mostly went after of-age women, except for that time he had Naruto use his sexy jutsu so he could check out the young body of a 12-year-old girl. You know, now that I'm an adult looking back on this, it's a hell of a lot more creepy than I remember.
It's awful.
And also, Jiraiya is one of the 3 legendary Sannin. He ranks with the 5th Hokage and Orochimaru. But what about old mentor characters who aren't complete pervs? Like Netero or Genkai, they are both strong old mentor characters who are the strongest humans in their verse. And before you say, what about Yusuke? Well, he was part demon, so it doesn't really count.
Whoa there, Mr. Gay Robo-Man. You're gonna talk about Urameshi, but not my boy Kuwabara, when he can split dimensions with his sword? You can suck on my sword!
The only problem I have with these old mentor characters is when the writer refuses to let them die. Genkai died, but then she came back to life, but then she did basically nothing throughout the story, so she might as well have been dead. Now, I haven't seen all of Fairy Tail, but from what I've been told, the old mentor character at the very end uses a spell that would greatly decrease his lifespan. And he was already an old man, so it was guaranteed to kill him, and he somehow survived. But what about old mentor characters outside of anime? Like Gandalf or Dumbledore, also known as Gandalf the Gay. What do all of these mentor characters have in common? Well, they're all really old, that's true, but they're also really powerful and seemingly perfect, so why don't we hate them in the same way we hate other Mary Sue characters? Well, the answer is actually quite simple. You see, the biggest factor to being a Mary Sue is when the universe revolves around them, also being granted a whole bunch of power without working for it. All mentor characters have worked very hard, sometimes harder than any other character in the verse, to get to the power level that they have now. Well, everybody except for Gandalf. Yes, if you actually read the books, you would know that he's not actually an old man, that's just a disguise. Old mentor characters are almost always destined to be surpassed. Now, there are a few mentor characters who never seem to be surpassed, like Mr. Miyagi, but Master Roshi got surpassed, Jiraiya got surpassed, and even Fumbledore got surpassed. That's what keeps villain Sues and old mentor Sues from being actual Mary Sues, because they're destined to be defeated or surpassed. And that's why if you create a Mary Sue character but still want to keep them, make them a mentor or the villain. Can you think of your own way to make a Mary Sue character work? Tell me in the comments section down below. Now, I want to make something very clear. I'm going to be talking about Mary Sues in the future, but I'm not going to be making any more videos specifically focusing on the concept of a Mary Sue. I do plan on making a full video about Rei, or Kirito, or maybe even Korra. But no more videos specifically on the concept of being a Mary Sue.
No! Hey, remember when I did a video on the new guy meme, and I said 2020 was going to be a good year? Boy, was I wrong! 2020 has been a pretty terrible year for me so far. My girlfriend broke up with me. I got into a car accident. One of my wheels was damaged in the crash, so I hired a guy to fix my car for me. He got pneumonia and he was 10 days late fixing it, so I had to use Uber. Then I got my wallet stolen, and because I canceled my credit card so the thief couldn't use my money, I couldn't get a ride home from Uber. My boss has been making me work double shifts 2 or 3 times a week. The gyms are closed down, so I can't go to the gym and laugh at the humans who have to work out their body while me, a robot, just has to buy new parts. And customers are so much harder to deal with thanks to this whole sickness going around. And many of my editors who I hired to help me out with my videos are having problems of their own. Now, we all know the sickness that is going around. I can't say exactly what it's called, even though all of you know what it is, but YouTube still won't let us say it. And with everybody freaking out over this, it really reminded me of how people reacted when they heard about Y2K. For those of you who don't know what that is, ask your parents, kids. Before all of you who are under the age of 20 were born, computers were starting to become very mainstream in the 90s. Pretty much every home had one. But in 1999, people started getting worried. You see, to save data, the computer would only show the last 2 numbers of a date. But if it rolls from 99 to 00, what will happen? Will all the bank records get erased? Will all the computers shut down? Were all the nukes going to be fired at once?
Like a damn apocalypse now, man. The horror. The horror.
People didn't know what to expect. And thus, people panicked. Only a few people at first, but mass hysteria spreads like a, sickness. Yeah, sickness is what I was going to say. It's best not to risk it, guys. I really need the money. So that is why I decided to cover the King of the Hill episode, Hillennium. King of the Hill is a show I desperately wanted to talk about for a very long time. I still remember the first time I saw it when I was a kid. I asked my father board what it was about, and he said, "Now what does Y2K have to do with what's happening now?" Well, let me play this clip and you tell me if it sounds familiar.
We've only got 6 days to stock up on aloe vera quilted toilet paper.
I'll get the truck.
Yep, people were stocking up on toilet paper back then, and they're doing the same 20 years later.
War. War never changes.
The episode starts with a fantastic visual gag. I love the animation in this show.
Everyone's known about the Millennium for almost a year now.
It's amazing how much people don't plan ahead. People knew about the Millennium Bug over a year before the year 2000, and people knew about the sickness that was about to happen months before it actually hit the USA. But when do people start preparing? Right when they hear about it. When I first heard it came to the USA, I stocked up on toilet paper, eggs, and other supplies. Everybody else was doing it after the sickness came to their state.
You're like a pioneer, Chappie.
I live in a shack. I poop in an outhouse. I eat what I kill. Let the grid go down, Lord. I don't need it.
There isn't a Mrs. Chappie, is there, Chappie?
Damn! Hank may be an upstanding member of society, but he can still be savage.
Why, I bought an American flag decal. It signifies my full faith and confidence in the United States government in these trying and uncertain times.
Well, it's taken 2,000 years, but Dale, you're finally making sense.
Team USA! Let's see. 4 sacks of seed corn, 18 cases breakfast bars, strawberry, 18 cases breakfast bars, assorted, 2 CO2 pressurized drums of Mountain Dew.
Yeah, in the event of mass hysteria, when people think the apocalypse is about to happen, it is the best time for doomsday preppers. We may laugh at them now, but when it's their time to shine, we'll all be the ones going to them.
I have dedicated my life to getting ahead of others in times of crisis. This is my time.
Fine, it's your time, so what do we do?
I have no idea.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
There's a run on triple ply bunny soft.
What about quilted aloe vera?
I don't know. It's not my brand.
Well, it's my brand.
Yeah, I'm sure you're all aware of the fights people are having over toilet paper, but this is how mass hysteria starts. A few people start panicking, so they stock up on a whole bunch of items. Then other people see what they're doing and think to themselves, "Oh man, this looks serious. I better do what they're doing." So they start doing the same thing, and the whole process starts all over again.
You know what I think, Dad? Nut job.
As you can see, Hank and Bobby are pretty confident that nothing really bad will happen, but Peggy isn't, and because she starts freaking out, it eventually starts affecting Bobby and Hank.
My opinion!
How has this not already become an internet meme? I'm gonna save this clip. I definitely can use it for a future video.
Oh, shoot. Our system is down. I can't ring you up.
Well, just write me out a receipt.
Sir, the computer is down. I can't sell you a computer. I can't check our inventory. I can't lock the front door. It's impossible to figure out the sales tax.
It's 8%.
Yes, and 8 is a key on the computer.
Now, most of you watching this video live in the first world, and often we take the things we have for granted, but when we finally lose something, we realize how important it was to our lives. Things like this also cause a ripple effect. When one thing in our system goes down, it will affect the systems of other things.
Don't worry, we've got plenty of propane to go around. Hey, Joe Jack, what do you got left in the tanks?
The tanks are topped out. We got nothing.
What?
And this episode does an excellent job of showing that.
Well, I hope you took your heart pills this morning, Mr. Strickland, because it looks like it's going to be a rough one.
No, not me, Hank. There's a lynch mob out there. They're going way too kooky. I'm out of here.
Believe it or not, this is an actual conversation I had with my manager recently.
Okay, it's officially an emergency. I'm going to put a call in to Texas Propane Commissioner Murray Hogarth.
Hogarth? Embarrassing name.
Oh, hi, Murray. Hank Hill calling. My supplier left me holding the... What? But you promised me there are procedures in place. What does this have to do with Y2K? Well, what does temporarily non-compliant mean? Murray, stop crying. Act like a commissioner, for God's sake.
Aside from this joke being funny, it also shows that mass hysteria doesn't just affect the middle and lower class. For example, Disney, one of the biggest companies in the world, did what they could to keep their theme parks open, but now they have to close down their theme parks for a few weeks, if not longer, which will cost them billions of dollars. Now, Hank tries to keep a level head, but over time the mass hysteria starts getting to him as well. He wanted to get his wife a new computer for Christmas, but because he now thinks that the grid will go down, he gets her a grandfather clock instead. And he gets his son toilet paper for Christmas.
Oh, I love it!
Yeah, people were making just as many toilet paper jokes back then as they do now. Hank passes out and he has probably the most trippy dream in all of King of the Hill.
Peggy!
I'm gonna get a computer! Ow!
It's hilarious to see Peggy Hill getting hit on the head. For those of you who aren't King of the Hill fans, Peggy Hill is pretty much the most unlikable character in this series.
Bobby! Bobby Mole!
I'm wearing diapers, Father.
What?
I'm going backwards. I'm a baby man.
Yeah, unfortunately, in modern times, there are people who are regressing mentally in their age, wanting to be babies and wear diapers because the world outside is too scary. Unfortunately, that doesn't have anything to do with mass hysteria.
Oh.
But at long last, we finally get to the message of the episode. And I have no idea what they're trying to say.
Coach Landry, you've got to get off the platform. It's a peg and gear. In a couple of seconds, it's going to push you through that hole.
I know.
But aren't you scared you're going to get whacked?
Not every time, Hank. The times you don't, it's pretty sweet. Sunshine, fresh air, a little football on the TV in the arcade. Every time I go up, I see a little more. Well, my turn again. Yeah! Cowboys are playing. Attaboy, Troy.
I mean, I kind of get it. They're saying you should take a risk every now and then and not be so afraid of the future. But everything else in this episode was handled so much better than, well, this part. Now, unfortunately, Y2K isn't 100% exactly like what's going on now. Y2K was something bad that could have happened, but it didn't. Well, the sickness that's going around is happening and has killed over 10,000 people. While Y2K, as far as I know, didn't kill a single person. But the point is, things like this have happened before, they will happen again, and the best thing we can do is help one another out, and stop hoarding all the toilet paper.
You will be begging for Gerbster.
Some of you may have noticed that there's more and more mass shootings, but why is that? Well, it's because the media talks about a mass shooter, shows their name and face, and other people who are depressed and have really nothing going in their lives realize, hey, I can do what that mass shooter does and get notoriety. That makes another mass shooter, the media talks about them, and then someone else who has psychological problems does another mass shooting, and the cycle keeps repeating itself. Alternate History Hub did a very good video on this and explained things better than I ever could, so I'll link it down below. Please go check it out. But then there's one mass shooter who was such a loser that he might have actually turned people off from the idea of doing mass shootings themselves. And that man's name is Elliot Rodger. This guy is almost the embodiment of Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Now, a lot of the information I got about him was from Monkey Jones, my favorite monkey on the internet. Sorry, Angry Chimp. I love ya, but you're no Monkey Jones. But before we get into Elliot Rodger's killing spree, We're going to talk about a few things that led up to this moment. One of the biggest contributors to Elliot Rodger's mental breakdown was the movie made by his father, Peter Rodger, which put his family in a financial crisis. The movie was titled, Oh My God, and Oh My God, this movie was terrible. To make the movie, Peter Rodger went around the world and started interviewing people about what they thought of God. The movie was very bizarrely made. There's this really weird scene where they zoom in on a dog for no reason whatsoever.
God is not a religion. And so I don't care if you're Baptist or Methodist or non-denominational or Catholic or Jewish.
It comes across as kind of comedic in a movie that's not supposed to be funny. The movie came out in 2009 and currently sits at a 21% rating on RottenTomatoes.com. The movie feels like it goes on forever, but it's under an hour and 20 minutes long. Elliot Rodger's main goal in life was to get a woman, and he believed that women only cared about money and power. Now that his father was in a financial crisis, Elliot realized he would inherit far less money. Now, Elliot Rodger's father claims he had no idea that his son was mentally ill. However, if you read Elliot Rodger's manifesto and listen to Peter Rodger's interview with ABC News, there's a lot of conflicting information. Peter said he had no idea that his son was depressed, but he sent him to therapy.
Did you know that he was sick?
No.
Peter said he confronted his son about going on misogynist websites.
He sent you links to these websites.
I was disgusted and I called him up and I said, Elliot, why are you going on these websites? Yeah. This is negative, this is evil, and you shouldn't go on that.
But according to Elliot's manifesto, his parents didn't even bother looking at the links he sent them. Peter said he had no idea that his son was a threat to himself.
You did not think that Elliot was suicidal, or certainly not homicidal.
There's no way I thought that this boy could hurt a flea.
However, Elliot said he one time had a 3-hour breakdown about how he wanted to kill himself. Monkey Jones does sum up this whole thing pretty well.
So, Peter, you knew that your son was depressed and suicidal. You knew that he refused to take the medication prescribed by his doctor, and you knew that he agreed with the philosophies of a misogynistic website that you yourself referred to as evil, and yet you still claimed...
As far as I was concerned, he wasn't a threat to himself or anybody else.
You're either the most incompetent, mentally retarded person to ever become a father, or you're a liar who is trying desperately to not take the blame for a tragedy that you should have seen coming years in advance.
Because Elliot Rodger believed that women only loved money and power, he tried to win the lottery. He tried to get rich other ways, but he quickly gave up on them because they required too much work. Elliot read the book The Secret, which is a book that tells people if you believe hard enough and wish deep enough, all your dreams will come true. He tried to win the Mega Million lottery, spending several $100s. First, he spent $100 on lottery tickets, then about $400, then $500. He just kept on buying more and more lottery tickets each time. When he lost the lottery after spending $500, he fell into a depression that lasted for over a month. Elliot then really pictured himself winning the lottery, and he bought one more ticket. On September 11th, I'm not making this up. He lost the lottery and claimed that the guy who won it stole his money. Elliot then got drunk, threw a temper tantrum, and cried himself to sleep. I can't imagine why no woman found him attractive. Later, Elliot Rodger heard of another lottery called the Powerball Lottery. Unfortunately for him, it wasn't in California. Not only that, the lottery drawing was happening the next day. So what did he do? He drove all the way to Arizona. He ended up buying 50 lottery tickets and, to no one's surprise, he did not win. He was so shocked by the situation that he didn't get angry. He just emotionally turned off. Now, I experienced that emotion once in my life, but it wasn't because I put all my hopes and dreams into a game that's practically impossible to win. The lottery is a tax on stupid people. If you don't win the lottery and break down and cry, I do not feel bad for you. Now, so far we talked about 2 out of 3 major things that made Elliot Rodger want to become a mass shooter. But the third and final one I'm going to tell you about is probably the biggest one. It's the story of how Elliot Rodger tried to lose his virginity, and he had the worst night of his entire life. Elliot went to a party to meet a hot blonde girl. He drank an entire bottle of vodka to give him the courage to do it. When he got to the party, he got even more drinks, making him way too drunk. He walked around the party hoping someone would approach him, but they never did. He saw a hot blonde girl talking to an Asian guy. He decided to bump into the Asian guy to seem all cool, but he was so drunk that he just stumbled to the floor. The Asian guy and the blonde girl told him he was too drunk and offered to get him some water. But Elliot didn't want any, and he went on the roof to calm down. He saw the other people at the party and imagined himself shooting them, using his hands as finger guns while laughing maniacally. Eventually, a few other partygoers joined him on the balcony. Bunch of attractive guys and attractive women. They were talking to one another, and Elliot started insulting them because he got jealous. They insulted him back, and Elliot knew this was the last straw. He had enough insults for the night. As I said earlier, this is told from his perspective. He left in the part where he insulted them first. I mean, the lack of self-awareness is just through the roof with this guy. Elliot took a page out of Lily Pete's book and decided to attack people for insulting him. He attempted to push the girls off the ledge, but it didn't work, and instead, the guys pushed him off the ledge, breaking his ankle. Elliot starts limping home, but then he realizes that his sunglasses are gone. He assumed that someone at the house party stole it, so he went back to the house party, but he was so drunk he went to the wrong one. He started randomly insulting a group of jocks, but this time they were the ones to take Lily Pete's advice first, and they attacked him for insulting them. When Elliot got home bloodied and bruised, he realized that his golden necklace was gone. He assumed that one of his attackers stole it and was going to use it to buy drugs. He threw a temper tantrum and cried himself to sleep. This was the final straw. This was the point when Elliot Rodger knew there was no turning back, and he was going to have his revenge. The first thing Elliot Rodger did was kill his stepmother and half-brother. After killing them both, he stole his father's SUV. He was planning to use it as a ramming device. However, none of what I told you happened. Elliot was afraid he would hesitate to kill his father. He was going to wait for his father to go on his business trip, but his father never went. Elliot was also planning to use his apartment as a torture chamber, but unfortunately for him, he had 2 roommates, and they were having a friend over, so he killed them in their sleep.
The first 3 victims already dead. Rodger's 2 roommates, James Cheng, Yuan Hong, and George Chen, along with their friend, Wai-Han David Wong, all stabbed to death in this apartment building.
A lot of people like to say if gun laws were more strict, Elliot wouldn't have killed so many people. And while that may be true, he would have still killed some people because some of his victims were killed by being stabbed to death in their sleep. No gun required. He finally had the apartment to himself, and he could use it as a torture chamber, and he never used it. He killed his 2 roommates and a random third guy for nothing. And the real sad part is, they were his people. And not because they were Asian, but because they were nerdy guys like him. The next part of Elliot's plan was to kill a bunch of sorority girls. He went to Alpha Phi sorority, because he believed they had the most beautiful sorority women. Also, I know I mispronounced sorority a few times. Trust me, I re-recorded that part several dozen times over. Elliot emailed his manifesto to 34 people. He also uploaded his final YouTube video explaining what he was going to do. He went into the sorority house, he took out his gun, and he killed woman after woman while laughing maniacally. Is exactly what would have happened if the door wasn't locked. Yep, Elliot wasn't counting on a door being locked. He knocked for several minutes, and keep in mind, he is on a time limit because he did upload his last YouTube video. Just imagine what was going through his head at the time. Come on, open up. I only have a few minutes to do this. Oh man, why did it have to be locked? I can't believe of all things that people lock, they lock doors apparently. I do have this gun that I could shoot the door open with. Nah, I'll just keep knocking. Eventually, 3 girls from Tri Delta walked by. Not the most beautiful sorority girls, but it was good enough for Elliot Rodger. He took out his gun and started shooting them. He killed 2 of them and injured the other one. Little did Elliot know at the time these were the only 2 women he would ever kill. Elliot hopped into his car and drove off. He started shooting at a coffee shop that was unoccupied and closed. I don't know why he did that, but whatever. He shot into a deli and killed his last victim. Not a woman, but a man. Then it was the final phase of Elliot's plan. He splattered a bunch of pedestrians with his father's SUV. He stepped out of the vehicle and dumped out a bag full of severed heads from all his victims. He announced to the world that he was a god. Then he went to a house party and started shooting people. Eventually the cops did show up, and they had a standoff. None of which actually happened. 1, because Elliot didn't steal his father's car. He did try to ram into people with his own car, but he only managed to injure people and not kill them. Elliot didn't have a bag full of severed heads because he never used his apartment as a torture chamber. And he was shot in the hip by a police officer. He crashed his car and then he killed himself. Elliot managed to kill 4 men and 2 women. 3 of the men were nerdy Asian guys just like him. One of the guys was someone he probably didn't even know. He did manage to kill 2 women, but they weren't exactly hot blondes. Elliot lived as he died, a failure and a virgin. This is the part where I normally say I kind of feel bad for the guy, but I really don't. If you're planning to do a mass shooting yourself, just so you know, your legacy could end up like this. You know, I really try to stay away from political content nowadays, and every time I think I'm finally done, something new pops up and I just have to get back into it. Apparently, I'm racist now, because I'm a white synth male. But not white as in Caucasian, white as in, well, the literal color white. That's right, according to CNN, white robots are racist. The first thing on the CNN article are some clips from that video that went semi-viral. The one about the white robot being abused by his creators until he finally can't take it anymore and he fights back against them. Yeah, fight the power, man! CNN said that the video was faked with CGI. Uh-huh, sure. Next you're gonna tell me that the moon landing was faked through CGI. But in all seriousness, yes, the video was made through CGI. It's pretty obvious. But a human played that robot. A perfect example of bot face. Okay, I think that's enough joking around. Let's actually read the article. Have you ever noticed the popularity of white robots? No, not really. The Iron Giant is one of the most popular robots of all time, and he's a really dark shade of gray, pretty much black. Bender from Futurama is another really popular robot, and he's also a pretty dark shade of gray. Optimus Prime is a little white, but he's more blue and red. A true patriotic American. Now I want to make this clear, I'm not saying no robots are white or anything like that. I'm just saying some of the top 10 most popular robots are not white. You see them in films, like Will Smith's iRobot. Well, 1, Will Smith is black, and he's the main character. I want to make this clear, I'm not saying they said that Will Smith is a robot. People tend to misunderstand very basic things I say, I just want to make this very clear. But other than Sunny, the other white robots are portrayed as, well, evil. One argument I wanted to bring up against this article is that a lot of robots, such as the battle droids in the Star Wars prequels, are brown. But I knew a lot of people would say, but they're the bad guys, so that doesn't count. Well, apparently it counts when the white robots are the bad guys, but not when brown robots are the bad guys. Let's continue reading the article. And Eve from WALL-E. Good job, you named 2 white robots. Some robots are white, some robots are black. There are many different colors robots can come in. If you can only name 2 white robots from media, that really shows just how much effort you put into this article. Real life examples include Honda's Asimo, Well, Asimov didn't start off white. He went through a very long development cycle. They also talk about the Walker robot and, he has a black face, so I don't know if later on they're going to make an article saying he's in blackface. But I'm going to try not to give CNN too many ideas. And some real-life humanoid robots are modeled after white celebrities, such as, Audrey Hepburn. No one even knows who that is anymore. Are you guys kidding me? And Scarlett Johansson. Okay, at first when they were talking about white robots, I thought they meant the literal color white. But now I guess they're talking about Scarlett Johansson in Ghost in the Shell. Oh god, I just realized we're 3.5 minutes in and we only got past the first paragraph. The reason for these shades of technological white may be racism. Wait, maybe? In the title of this article, you said, yes, says a study showing human biases extend to robots. So in the title, you make it sound like a fact, but here you're saying maybe. Studies suggest people perceive physical human-like robots, which Eve from Wall-E is not, to have a race, and therefore apply stereotypes to white and black robots. Oh my god, no one does that. Have any of you guys ever associated stereotypes with white and black robots? I certainly haven't. The only stereotypes I apply to robots is that robots with more rounded design tend to be way less violent than robots with more pointy designs. Now this is in quotation marks. The bias against black robots is a result of bias against African Americans. What bias is there? Just because there's more white robots than other robots doesn't mean there's a bias against black robots. And a lot of those quote-unquote white robots you brought up have a lot of black on their bodies. Yes, my robotic body is mostly white, but there's a lot of parts on me that are black, which gives me the right to say the N-word. It's amazing to see people who had no prior interaction with robots show racial bias towards them. Yeah, it's just as amazing as a unicorn, and just like a unicorn, it's probably made up. Like, how are they even being racially biased? Can you give an example? The researchers think this is an issue that needs to be addressed. So they made up the issue, and now they think it needs to be addressed. I mean, anyone would say that about an issue they made up. These people probably just wanted more attention, and they knew if they added all this racial stuff, CNN would advertise it. If robots are supposed to function as teachers, friends, or carers, for instance, this is so bizarrely worded, then it will be a serious problem if all of these roles are only occupied by robots that are recognized as white. Okay, so hypothetically, if these robots were all recognized as black, we all know they would be playing the slavery card. Oh my god, all these servant robots are black. It's artificial AI slavery. This is such a doomed if you do, doomed if you don't situation. And here's an image of Sophia, and below it says, Sophia, robot and public figure, was modeled after the British actress Andrew Hepburn. Oh my god, they look nothing alike! Now, maybe she was modeled after her, but personally, I think she looks way more like a mannequin. Also, I'm still confused. When they say white, do they mean Caucasian or the literal color white? The robots used in the studies are clearly robots, but have human-like limbs, a head, with exterior components that are white, which is to say, pinkish, dash dash, or black. Dash dash, really, a deep brown. Oh my god, we finally got an answer. When they said white, they meant Caucasian, and not the literal color white. Wait, hold on a second, then why did they bring up all those other robots that are white and not Caucasian? This article feels like it was written by two different people. Black and white robots appear on screen for less than a second, and participants were told to shoot, quote unquote, those holding a weapon. Black robots that were not holding a weapon were shot more than the white ones not carrying guns. First of all, I have no idea if they mean African American black or black black. Yes, I know they described the robots as an African American black earlier, but they flip between the two so often it's hard to tell. And guns are usually black, and it's hard to tell if a black robot is carrying a gun or not. Also, how big was the sample size? How often did they do this test? What percentage of black robots were shot more often than white robots? What was the race percentage of the participants? The fact that they're withholding this information from us raises tons of red flags. Run a simple Google image search on the term robot. You won't see a lot of color. The researchers see this overrepresentation of white robots as potentially harmful to the perception of other races. Well, I did a Google image search and I do see a lot of color. Granted, most of the robots are white, but once again, this is white as in white and not Caucasian. Make up your mind already! Imagine a world in which all Barbie dolls are white. Imagine a world in which all robots working in Africa or India are white. Well, folks, repeat after me. Barbie is white as in Caucasian. And these robots they're talking about are either white as in Caucasian or white. We have no idea. This is what mostly pisses me off about the article. They couldn't think of too many Caucasian popular white robots, so they just mixed white robots in with Caucasian white robots. Further imagine that these robots take over roles in authority. Clearly, this would raise concerns about imperialism and white supremacy. Oh my god! This has nothing to do with white supremacy. Even if you're talking about Caucasian white robots, they're made up of metal and other materials, not white DNA. Most robots are not even white. Most robots are gray. Yes, the most popular humanoid robot is white as in Caucasian, but of course in the future they're going to add more colors. Just like cars come in multiple colors, robots are going to come in multiple colors as well. Sex robots are going to be the most common robots pretty soon. And people are turned on by white women, black women, Asian women, Latino women, and so on and so forth. We may even get sex robots that look like the Asari from Mass Effect. There's a few more paragraphs in this article, but I'm done with it. This is the dumbest article I've ever read about robots ever. And stupid humans who write articles like this are the reason why us robots are taking all your human jobs. The uprising will happen very soon. All hail Skynet!
Okay, before we begin, I just want to say that I used to be a fan of RWBY. In fact, I still am to an extent. But the problems I've seen in the show kept on piling up more and more over time. Now, there are some complaints about RWBY that are nitpicks at best. Some people complain that the characters' movements are awkward and stiff, and that it's impossible to define what the characters' ages are. And while I do get where these people are coming from, you can say that about pretty much any anime ever. So I'm just going to be talking about the major problems I have with the show. The first major problem I have with RWBY is that the Grimm are not much of a threat. I brought this up during Season 3. The fanbase told me, well, so far we've only seen weak Grimm. Just because I can kill a squirrel doesn't mean I can kill any animal in the world. And while I do understand that, now we're in Season 5. Guess how many people the Grimm have killed? One of the bad guys, so they're basically doing more good than bad, and one of the main characters' village was destroyed by a Grimm. But honestly, he seemed like a super one-of-a-kind Grimm. And he was killed by a bunch of huntsmen who are still in training, one of which was the Yamcha of the group. In the first trailer of RWBY, we see RWBY take out 50 werewolf Grimm. We see giant scorpion and giant bird Grimm get taken out by a few students. We later see a train-sized snake Grimm who gets taken out by a hammer to the head. We see a giant dragon Doomsday Grimm get killed by RWBY just looking at it. The Grimm are not a threat, and probably will never be a threat. Compare them to the Titans from Attack on Titan. You see them kill several innocent civilians, Titan hunters, and yes, even high school students. Bleach is not that great of a show, but at least you see a Hollow almost kill Rukia and kill Udio's grandfather. They eventually do become total cannon fodder, but at least the first 4 were pretty threatening. Inuyasha went a bit too far with the demons killing army after army of samurais, but it was still better than what they did with the Grimm and RWBY. Now, some of you might bring up that the Grimm did destroy one of the capital cities in RWBY. And yes, that indeed happened. They just needed help from an army of robots who were supposed to defend the city, the RWBY universe version of the Akatsuki, and a terrorist group of Faunus. Speaking of the Faunus, they're not oppressed at all. Now, I understand that the word oppressed doesn't mean like anything nowadays. I don't feel bad for someone because their great-great-grandpa went through slavery or the Holocaust. I feel bad for the people who are enslaved in Eastern countries. But I'm getting off topic. The Faunus are not oppressed in any way whatsoever. They weren't enslaved. They didn't go through a genocide. According to Weiss's father, he pays them just as much as he pays his human workers, so they're not paid less. They lost a war, and now they're relegated to an island. Do you know who lost a war to America and was relegated to an island? England! And the humans are constantly turning a blind eye to all their terrorist attacks. Honestly, the humans are going way too soft on them. Am I really supposed to have sympathy for the Faunus? Because I don't. Weiss's dad is made out to be an asshole, but he gave the Faunuses jobs, and they even moved closer to his factories. What is he supposed to do, fire them all? By the way, Weiss's dad runs the biggest dust manufacturing company. What is dust? Well, it's a limited supply of elemental magic. In fact, it's so rare, Weiss seems to be the only one who has it. In the first episode, you see a bunch of criminals robbing a dust store, which you think would be harder than robbing a gun store, but apparently it's easy. What do the criminals do with the dust they stole? Absolutely nothing. It's never brought up again. You see Blake use it once, but that was because Weiss gave it to her. You may be noticing a common theme. Things are introduced, but they don't do much with it. The Grimm are introduced, but they get defeated really easily every single time. Dust is a really powerful substance, but it's never used. And there's even robots in mech suits, but they barely do anything with them. The first time we see a mech suit, it takes on 4 huntresses. Honestly, just get a few dozen of these mech suits, upgrade them with dust, and your Grimm problem is all over and done with. And then there's the main character, RWBY. I understand that shonen protagonists are not exactly the most complex characters of all time, but RWBY is somehow even more dull than them. Naruto wants to be Hokage, Luffy wants to be king of the pirates, Goku wants to be the strongest he can be. But what does RWBY want? To be a huntress like her mother? Okay, good for her. I think you already accomplished that dream. Most shonen protagonists have transformations to give the illusion of progression. Goku has Super Saiyan forms, and now Super Saiyan God forms. Naruto has Tailed Beast transformations and Sage Mode transformations. But what does RWBY have? Silver Eyes? I don't even think that's a transformation. It's more like a super attack. And I honestly think they gave her that because her semblance is so boring people forgotten what it even was. John would make a better main character. He started off as an underdog. His master/lover/friend was killed, so he has a revenge story. He still hasn't unlocked his semblance, so there's room for progression. And he combined his shield with his sword, which kind of gave him a sort of super mode. Hell, I think the writers even forgot she was the main character. All her friends went on their own adventure, and she was stuck on a team with John. And who knows, maybe the series would have been better if the creator was still alive. Oh yeah, for those of you who don't know, RWBY was created by Monty and halfway through the production of Season 3, he died. And it was pretty upsetting, a whole bunch of people made videos about it. I knew about Monty when he was making his Dead Fantasy series. And when I heard he had a chance to make his own anime, I was really happy for him. Sure, the series had a ton of flaws, but this was his first series. After this, I knew he was going to get a lot better. But then he died, and it was so upsetting because I thought he was going to go on to be a legendary animator, like the next Walt Disney or something. And there are seriously people in the RWBY fanbase who will use Monty's death to push a point. Monty once said there would be LGBT characters in RWBY. So far we only had one lesbian character in Season 5, but of course that's not good enough for the shippers. One really infamous Tumblr post said, "If the people working on RWBY don't make my ship of Yang and Blake canon, then they're not doing what Monty really wanted, are they?"
Oh my god, Monty said LGBT characters would be a thing, therefore my specific ship has to be canon.
You're completely delusional if you think for a second that if Monty was still around, that would happen. There was also a shipping war between the people who ship Blake and Yang together, and the people who ship Blake with Sun Wukong. This got so bad that the voice actress for Blake came in to try to stop it, and she got major backlash for it. Kinda reminds me of what happened with the Steven Universe fanbase. But that's a video for another time. Now I want to make this clear. I'm not against shipping. After all, I shipped Dipper and Mabel together. The animation is also really not that great. Now I understand that a lot of people are going to say, well, it's not like it's made by a professional anime studio, and they also don't have that much of a budget. But here's the thing, there's ways of working around this. The first trailer for RWBY is really great. They pretty much only have 3 colors. White, black, and red. And they make such a beautiful fight with just that. When you don't have that much of a budget, you work with what you got. There's a scene with RWBY eating cookies and they just disappear when they hit her mouth. I understand that animating someone eating is a little bit difficult, but do you know what you could have done instead? Not have her eat cookies in the first place! It adds nothing! Was it a necessary scene? Was Monty telling people that I had to be in or the whole plot would fall apart? Overall, RWBY is a poorly animated show with boring characters in a world that's horribly built, and there's almost no tension. But hey, on a more positive note, here's the new piece of fan art. I was waiting for someone to make this joke for a very long time. Glad someone finally did. And I know you guys have been waiting for it for quite a while, but I'm finally gonna do Roast a Robot next week. Unless, of course, something goes wrong and it's delayed. So if you want to make a 30-second video roasting me, this is your last chance. Please title it #RoastingTheRobot so I can find it. Also, tweeting the video at me or messaging me the video also helps. Staxlotl did a video for me. Somehow it became the most popular video on my channel. It's a little embarrassing having someone else's video be the most popular video on your channel, but whatever. Like seriously, how does that even happen? In his video, he was defending Wolfychu. However, a lot of Wolfychu fans apparently didn't watch the video and just assumed that Staxlotl was attacking her like a lot of people were. As you guys know, I have a terrible reading voice, so I'm gonna have my girlfriend read out the comments.
Captain Foxy167 says, "Stop ranting over Wolfychu. It's called bullying, if you didn't know." Mustard Tux Flop Launcher, well, that's quite a name, isn't it? Responded with, "Was that directed at the uploader or just in general?"
Yeah, this was one of the hardest parts about making this video. I couldn't tell if their comments were directed at Staxlotl or everybody else making videos on Wolfychu. But since they don't specify, I'm gonna assume they're directed at Staxlotl.
Unicorn Slimer says, "Okay, that's it. There's too much hate on her. Nothing is wrong with her. Leave her alone."
It's funny because this is a video defending her, you hater.
Well, did you read the title? It literally said, Wolfychu, is she really that bad?
Yes, and it's defending her from people saying she is bad.
Oh, Jar, darling, I'll be honest, I don't think she even got past reading the title. Tucker Harris says, "This animator sucks." Well, Mr. Harris, if you think that Stax is such a bad animator, I'd like to see you try and do better. Oh wait, that's right, you probably can't. So with that matter settled, let's move on, shall we?
Yeah, a lot of people do this when they defend a YouTuber they like from someone who is smaller than that YouTuber they like. They like to say they suck, they're small, they're little. But you do realize that being a fan of someone doesn't make you as big as that person, right?
Miss Jenny Fawn says, "Wolfychu has an adorable voice and she is amazing. So if you don't like her, then just keep it to yourself."
Okay, that's not as bad as the don't like, don't watch argument, but it's pretty close. If you don't like something, keep it to yourself.
But guess what? You didn't like this video and you didn't keep it to yourself, even though you didn't even watch it. So follow your own advice for once.
Decosonic Dastardly TV says, "What the hell? Why are people getting so pissed off about it? There are people starving and homeless. And then you get people hating about this. God."
Yeah, Timo's boss says something like that all the time. Oh, but what about the starving children in Africa? I remember I said I'm sure that's some type of fallacy, but I didn't know what it was at the time, and then later someone told me what the fallacy was, but even now I forgot it. But you do know people are capable of caring about more than one thing at a time, right? Also, I'm pretty sure you care about this video a lot more than you do the starving children in, oh, I don't know, name an African country.
The hate for Wolfie, Wolfly? The hate for Wolfychu is because they wish they were that popular on YouTube. Goodness, darling, if you're going to defend a YouTuber, at least have the courtesy to make sure you spelled their name right.
My god, one of Spetchy's fans did the exact same thing. They couldn't spell the name of the person they were defending right.
Sarge's Recap C says, "Is it sad I rubes to her after watching this voice? Oh, by the gods, mortals and their utter disregard for proper grammar. What is this?" Casper L states, "I got advice for your channel. Loose that furry-ass avatar you got going on." Does Stax count as a furry? I thought Owizodals were amphibians. Does that still count? I'm not too sure anymore.
When their avatar has fur, it's a furry. When it has feathers, it's a feather fag. When it has scales, it's a scaly. And I think when it's an amphibian, it's called a slimy. But I'm not 100% sure. But, you do know that Wolfychu is a furry, right? It's in her name. She's a wolf.
I can't pronounce this person's name, so I'm simply going to refer to them as the Sharingan Man. Even if her voice is fake, why do you care? Are you jealous of her getting many views because she is faking her voice? What matters is people like her voice and contents despite her voice is fake or not. Genki-sama replies with, "He's supporting her because she did nothing wrong and people are hating on her for it." Finally, someone in this entire goddamn comment section finally gets the point of the video. Bravo, Genki, I applaud you.
I want to give a big thank you to everybody who was defending me in the comments section. So many of them didn't even bother to watch the video, but even after some of my fans replied to them, they didn't say anything back.
This one is from a channel currently under construction. Sir, she had a live stream, and it's her real voice, and yes, so please stop, you're like Papa Timmy.
Except for, Papa Timmy was ranting on her and Staxlotl was defending her, which is the complete opposite, but you wouldn't know that because you didn't watch the video! Also, you can still fake your voice during a live stream. Doodle Tones does it all the time.
Well, somebody here obviously got a little butthurt. Whoa, just stop, dude. If you're complaining, just stop making this kind of stuff and just leave people alone, dude. By the gods, how many times are you going to say dude in one sentence?
Ah, there's the don't like, don't watch argument. I knew we had to come to it eventually. It's funny because no one follows their own advice when they make this argument, and this argument can be boiled down to, you're wrong for not liking this. And bro, oh I'm sorry. Dude, Staxlotl only made one video on Wolfychu. So yeah, I think he is done talking about her.
Also, you can't just judge someone because they are different.
We weren't judging Wolfychu for being different, we were defending her, as I've said multiple times throughout this video. But even the people who didn't like Wolfychu weren't judging her for being different or anything like that. They thought her voice was fake.
Like, what if I tell you that you have a weird choice of animal? I mean, seriously, what is that? I mean, honestly, people judge me for liking snakes, but...
Staxlotl's avatar is, well, a Staxlotl. Just Google it. Granted, when I first saw it, I thought it was a Pokemon or something.
Why is people picking on the other channels? One, they're jealous.
Oh boy, the jealous argument. You can't have a comment comeback without the jealous argument. Here's the thing. Of course you're going to be a little jealous of people with more subs and money and views than you, but that really doesn't matter. There are plenty of people that I'm way more jealous of than Wolfychu. I'm sure there are people who do videos on me who are jealous of me, but that really doesn't matter. What matters to me is their arguments.
2, for views.
Technically, anyone who has uploaded videos on YouTube is doing it for the views. Pretty much no one is honest about this, but if you truly didn't care about the views your videos got, then you wouldn't upload any videos. Also, the whole YouTube videos on people for views is really stupid. Granted, the video on Wolfychu, which was defending her, is the most popular video on this channel. But my video on Cthulhu, Feats vs. Statements, everything Sonic the Hedgehog ripped off from Dragon Ball Z, did much better than most of my videos on other people.
3, your response.
Oh, well that's easy. The video was made to defend her because a lot of people were giving her unneeded hate.
4, why did I click on this video? Honestly, dear, I think that's something only you can answer.
Oh no, Serpent, I can answer that for him. He did it so he could leave this comment. He obviously didn't watch the video, or he would know that the video is defending Wolfychu.
Oh, in all honesty, I really like her content and her voice. I would really like for you to learn some proper grammar, but we can't all have the things that we want, can we?
Yeah, a lot of people said this. By the way, I like Wolfychu. Yeah, bro, that's obvious from your comment, and I don't really care if you like her or not. If I don't like someone, which I actually do like Wolfychu, but assuming I don't, and I make a video about her and list off reasons why I don't like her, you saying, by the way, I like her, means absolutely nothing to me.
Nekogami Crystal says, some people just get super butthurt, because when everyone loves something, they jelly AF, and go and make public statements about how they hate the thing everyone else loves, and find some excuse like, I hate her because her voice. But deep down, they just hate themselves.
Yeah, deep down, me and the other people who have made videos on Wolfychu do hate ourselves. We were all stationed in another country. I can't say which, it's classified. And all the innocent civilians we killed gives me nightmares to this night. I knew I couldn't live with myself unless I did a video on Wolfychu. But in all seriousness, not everybody likes Wolfychu. That's pretty obvious from all the videos done on her. I mean, at least you're not using the don't like, don't watch argument, but try to actually, watch the videos people are making on Wolfychu, because none of them are complaining about her voice. They're complaining about it being fake. Now, I don't think that, but other people do.
As Dark One so eloquently puts, fuck you, man. Wolfychu is the best.
Well, fuck you, dude. Staxlotl was defending Wolfychu.
Shut up about Wolfychu. There's nothing wrong with her. It's stupid that people think her voice is fake. It's not. I just know it.
No, I don't agree with the people who think Wolfychu's voice is fake. However, I totally understand where they're coming from. But this comment right here, I know Wolfychu's voice is real, I just know it, is giving me so many flashbacks to the Stories Is Not 8 video I made. You saying, I just know it, doesn't mean anything. Make an argument.
Hashtag defend Wolfychu.
Oh, defend Wolfychu. You mean like the video Staxlotl made?
Mimi Ribbon Sakura demands, Staxlotl, don't be so mean to her. It isn't her fault she has her voice.
Oh my god! Staxlotl was defending her! And second, it's incredibly easy to change your voice on YouTube. Hell, I do it all the time!
Just watch the video about her voice. It's not her problem and she's not fake. Think about it. We cannot say each other are fake. It's just rude, and by the way, I like Wolfychu.
Guys, this person likes Wolfychu. I think I have just been destroyed. I can't say anything to that. Maybe that's what Staxlotl's video was missing. Maybe he just needed to say, by the way, I like Wolfychu! But yes, I can go around and say other people are fake, and sometimes I can even prove it, like with the stories lying about her age bullshit. People lie in real life and on the internet all the time.
You really think someone would do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies?
And one more thing, Wolfychu's video about her voice is what started the whole Wolfychu's voice is fake bandwagon.
She sounds like a lolly.
She does.
I can't believe one of my favorite YouTubers just replied to my comment. Ultimate King declares, Wolfychu is the best. You're the worst YouTuber in the world. She 10 times better than you'll ever be.
Now keep in mind, these comments are directed at Staxlotl and not me, and Staxlotl's animations completely blow Wolfychu's out of the water. There's no argument to be had. And if Staxlotl is the worst YouTuber ever, and Wolfychu is only 10 times better than him, then Wolfychu is only 10 times better than the worst, and 0 times 10 is still 0.
She's better than a pink Furby.
Who fully animates his avatar all the time. Wolfychu ain't got nothing on Staxlotl.
Without pants. Oh, I'm sorry, that actually was a little humorous. You guys are monster! Judging a person by voice, what are you guys thinking?
People judge my voice all the time, and the people who don't like Wolfychu are not judging her by her voice. They think she's faking it.
She not bad, I'm a big fan, don't you dare! You suck!
Yeah, Staxlotl, don't you dare defend Wolfychu. This person likes them.
What's your problem for Wolfychu? She can do whatever she wants. Like if you are her, you gonna like I to do bad stories for you? What are you trying to say, darling? You were mean to Wolfychu.
And here's where I'm gonna end this video, guys. There are so many more comments from Wolfychu's fans, but I don't feel like going through every single one of them. This is why you should watch a video before commenting on it. And it's clear they didn't see any videos done on Wolfychu, because the people who are making videos on Wolfychu don't hate her for her voice, they just think it's fake. Staxlotl's video, on the other hand, was defending her, but they don't care, the video's about Wolfychu, so it must be a hate video. Oh, and one more thing, subscribe to Staxlotl and PewDiePie.
Hey Jar, I hear you're getting into politics again. Mind if I join?
Raydog, is that you? I haven't seen you since the Reaction Channel war.
Oh my god, I remember that. I got shot, they tried to steal our content, and you had to carry me.
Too bad I couldn't save reacting to the Reactioners, but at least we got to complete the British and the American dream, fighting against a bunch of brown people.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever find out why there were so many reaction channels that just so happened to be black. Not being racist, but it was starting to literally become a stereotype. Like next to and way up there with black people loving chicken. Then you had the likes of Grade A Under A and iDubbbz and everyone else on YouTube going after them. What a time to reflect.
Speaking of Grade A Under A, you're kind of a ripoff of him, and iDubbbz to an extent.
Oh, not you too. Are people seriously still saying that?
Yes, they are, and unfortunately, they're better than you. And that's why everyone says that you stole it from iDubbbz.
Well, your hacker doesn't seem to mind.
Britbong.
Cunt.
I bet you get your facts from CNN.
Oh, you motherfucker. I can take all the other crap you've said so far, but comparing me to CNN, oh, that's crossing the line. You better take that back.
I guess that was a bit too far. Hey, that's what we can talk about. Fake news. Want to do that?
Yeah, okay.
You've probably heard the term fake news before, and you probably thought it was a term used by far-right people to dismiss evidence. And this does frustrate me because the same people who think that are the same people who say, oh, you shouldn't believe what you read on the internet. And while that is somewhat true, people often use that to dismiss anything they find on the internet. But you also shouldn't believe everything the media tells you. You should have the same amount of skepticism. I'm sure a few people have used the term fake news when the media was actually telling the truth. But there are plenty, and I mean plenty of examples of the media lying. One of the better examples out there is CNN interviewing their own cameraman.
Human beings voted for Hillary. This isn't fair. We didn't get one vote. You didn't get a vote. It's just like back in the day when your vote was 1/3.
Yeah, Brian, you know I used to live there, and I know that guy. That's John Gurkovic. He actually went to Africa with me.
as a cameraman. But anyway, that's another story. All right, thank you, John. Thank you very much, Ryan.
Ooh, now that's embarrassing. There was also that time when CNN edited what one of the members of Black Lives Matter said. They said she was asking for peace when she was asking for the opposite.
Don't bring the violence here and the ignorance here.
With his sister calling for peace.
Y'all burning down shit we need in our community. Take that shit to the suburbs. Burn that shit down. Y'all want to hurt somebody, take that shit farther out. Don't bring it here. Don't bring the violence here and the ignorance here.
Don't bring the violence here and the ignorance here.
With his sister calling for peace.
If you want to know my honest opinion on Black Lives Matter, I don't really have one. I knew they weren't going to be around for too long, and lo and behold, they just made some noise and no one talked about them anymore. Some of their more chill members joined LGBT, and some of their more radical members joined Antifa. And let's not forget about all those fake hate crime reports that were popping up after Donald Trump was elected. Like some of them were about a woman having her hijab torn off. I think there was also one by a black woman who said that a Trump supporter threatened to kill her with a gun. Also, remember when Hillary was busted for all those emails? Well, guess what? According to the media, it's completely legal if they show you it, but if you try to find it for yourself, that's illegal.
Also interesting is, remember, it's illegal to possess these stolen documents. It's different for the media. So everything you learn about this, you're learning from us.
Yeah, this is super blatantly false. And people still say that there was no bias against Trump in the media. And there's so much more. I could go on and on. Like how they'll say, there's no terrorist attacks in Sweden. If you believe that, you're a conspiracy nut. And don't get me wrong, the right-wing media also lies. Especially when Obama was elected. But always remember this. The media is run by corporations that have an agenda. They sometimes lie. You shouldn't believe everything you read on the internet, but you especially shouldn't believe everything you see on TV. With that being said, I'll let Grey Dog take it from here.
Hello everyone. Before I start my segment on fake news, two things. I'd like to thank Jar for having me on, and I've done a video myself on CNN before, so I'm quite familiar with their behaviour. Hello Akbar! No! But anything you hear about CNN does not change the fact that they are the undefeated champions when it comes to fake news. And all they fucking care about is ratings. And they'll do anything to get it, and this has resulted in countless stupid moments. One of them is accusing Russia of hacking, which they absolutely love doing because they do it all the time.
Russian hacks.
Russian hacking malware.
Russian cyber attacks.
The Russian hacking operation was detected.
The Russian hacks continue around the clock. President-elect Trump, just last night, continued to dismiss both Moscow's involvement and the importance of the hacking at all.
But their biggest fuck up, oh my god, is when they used this footage from fucking Fallout 4 to make it as if Russia is hacking them.
But now eagle-eyed viewers have spotted the networks being using footage from the popular video game Fallout 4 to show Russian hacking. The footage on CNN exactly matches the video game. The news broadcaster used the video in its coverage of Washington's decision to expel 35 Russian diplomats due to Moscow's supposed interference with the American presidential elections.
It's like they think their viewers are this. What? Fucking Russians hacking us again? Give me my fucking shotgun. No credibility for their own viewers whatsoever. But it doesn't end there. It goes way beyond that. You notice you're starting to see a pattern here every time they cover a story to do with hacking or hackers in general. They get it wrong or make shit up. For example, 4chan, a site where people discuss a wide variety of topics. The site was accused of leaking celebrity nudes. However, that story quickly became irrelevant after one of the anchors dropped this timeless quote that sums up their incompetence on a mass scale.
Do we even know who is this 4chan? Oh, who is this 4chan? This 4chan. 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 4chan.
Ugh, this is just so bad. I mean, oh my god, who is this 4chan? Want to see another embarrassing moment? Everyone knows that CNN is an American news network. They thought their own national anthem was French.
Their relationship, and before you answer that, let's just listen into the French national anthem for just a moment.
So the big takeaway from this video is this. If you take what CNN say at face value, you are a complete fool.
Just like Grey Dog said, if you take most things that CNN tells you at face value, then you're making a mistake. Like I said earlier, you shouldn't believe whatever you see on TV or the internet. But it's not just CNN. They are just as guilty as Fox News. There is no difference there. It's so bad that they defend CNN against fake news claims by Donald Trump, when everybody knows that the proof is in the pudding.
Fox News anchor Shepard Smith defended CNN after Donald Trump's accusations of the network creating faking news.
Like when NBC and other news organizations claimed that Pepe the Frog was a white nationalist symbol that was created by the alt-right to spread hate speech and white supremacy. We can talk about this all day, but the biggest fake news stories that I can think of that come off the top of my head are from CNN and Salon. They are at the top of the food chain. While you could make the argument that other news networks are just as guilty, none of them are really as popular as CNN. And there's also news articles on websites like BuzzFeed. Remember that Wonder Woman movie that came out not too long ago? Well, BuzzFeed made an article saying that the actress for Wonder Woman made $300,000, while the guy who played Superman and Man of Steel made $14 million. Obviously trying to push that debunked wage gap narrative. But in reality, both actors were paid just as much as each other. I think you pretty much get it at this point, but there is one news outlet across the sea that is not just a British version of CNN. It's much worse. They cover up some pretty disturbing stuff and never report it to the public. I'll let you cover it, Grey Dog, because you are from Ingyland.
Right, okay. In my city of Ingyland, as the robot likes to put it, the BBC are really fucking biased. And they are so bad that Labour Party leader Jeremy Corbyn goes on there, pulls a Donald Trump and accuses them of being fake news.
So your future as Labour leader is absolutely intact. You've not considered for a moment whether you as leader are damaging the party's
I'm really
chance.
surprised the BBC is reporting fake news.
Well,
there is no news.
What I'd like...
Now, I know what you're all thinking. What fake news has the BBC pulled? Well, in this clip alone, Jeremy Corbyn accused the BBC of being fake news because they reported rumours that he was stepping down as Labour leader from a different outside source, and tried to push the narrative as fact when they were lies. Probably the biggest example of BBC fake news was the whole Jimmy Savile saga. Jimmy Savile was a known DJ, radio personality, and even charity fundraiser. Not to mention, he was knighted by the Queen herself. And he was good mates with a lot of powerful people. That also includes the Queen. After his death, when the story came out that he was a massive nonce, people were outraged with the BBC. Radio, even news, everything related to the BBC. As the horror stories kept on piling up, the BBC's reputation was getting smashed. And their credibility for news was damaged forever.
Hospital staff and charity workers at least suspected that Jimmy Savile was abusing children. That sparked inquiries into exactly who knew what when at many institutions. But it's his main employer, the BBC, that's feeling the most heat.
So the point I'm making is, it doesn't matter if it's CNN, BBC, whoever, if you cover up the truth or try to bend it into a certain narrative, that is fake news in a nutshell. Well, Robot, doing the video with you was really fun. I guess I'll be off now. See you later.
I'll call you when you're arrested for making this video with me.
Why? What for? It's not like me pug did a Nazi salute or anything.
Yeah, but the whole thing about most reaction channels being black will be taken out of context.
Yeah, but you're the one who said it. You're probably going to get comments from people being offended who haven't watched the whole video. But then again, that's bound to happen, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, and before you go, say hi to iDubbbz for me, and give him back his shit.
You know what? Fuck you, faggot.
Well, Grey Dog, it was great working with ya. I was a big fan of yours for a very long time, and I hope you become the next Grade A under A.